Hello, and welcome to Theme Park Real Talk, the show that talks about theme parks and our feels about them, good or bad.
I'm Aimee, and this is Andie, and we're not here to hold back, and we hope you don't either.
Nope. So, just to dive right in, the holiday season, even though it is as of today, mid-October, the holiday season has been returning to the theme parks on both coasts. A friend of mine who works at Universal Studios says that she spotted Christmas decorations going up in Seuss Land. So
I feel
October
like this
19th.
is too early.
Early. There's just too much
Personally,
overlap. There should be a cutoff. Like they're still doing Halloween Horror Nights. How are you going to have right down the street having Christmas Dr. Seuss right next to
right?
Halloween Horror Nights? Like it's just, it's just mixed messages. I feel, but yeah, they are starting to put up Christmas decorations and not the whole all of Universal Studios, just Seuss. So I guess maybe they're another one of the cases we talked about last week where the Harry Potter land, the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, doesn't have a tie-in to Halloween Horror Nights at Universal Studios.
Mm-hmm.
J.K. Rowling doesn't allow it. Maybe the Dr. Seuss estate is the same way because I'm pretty sure you don't get scare actors in the Cat in the Hat
Oh
ride.
yeah.
I think that would be a little weird. So I could kind of maybe that's like the kid-friendly zone. So maybe that's why they are doing it. But it is as of this morning. Christmas things are up and afoot at Universal Studios.
Do you know if they started that this week or last week or?
They started today.
Just today. Okay.
Yeah, it literally this morning. This morning was when they first started putting Christmas decor. If you go right now to Universal Studios, it is the only section in Universal Studios Orlando. It's the only section with Christmas decorations because everything else is all Halloweened out still because it is again mid-October.
Oh my gosh. I was just thinking Disneyland has their specials about when they transition into their seasons, and they specifically at midnight November 1st, that transition from October 31st, you go to Disneyland on November 1st, instantly things are Christmas. Like they do it overnight and then they do it more throughout the week until, let's see, they're opening starting November 12th and they'll have all the Christmas decorations up, but they'll start putting it up at least gradually. So at least we have a little bit of transition, or you can at least feel like you're transitioning from Halloween to a more holiday season. And we skip straight over Thanksgiving because who needs those decorations?
Who needs that? What is the Thanksgiving theme anyway?
But yeah, need, turkey banners on the wall or whatever. You just need Christmas, and the castle's going to be decorated in snow. So I don't know. I guess different parks do it different ways, but
they do like Epcot is having the Food and Wine Festival until I think the third week of November, and then going forward is when they do all their Festival of Holidays. So each World Pavilion gets its own theme regarding whatever country it's from. It has traditions represented, so it has like the major scene in Italy, and it has, I know they did the Christmas Beauty and the Beast scene in France, and they have different regarding whatever tradition they have each country's pavilion. But they do try to sustain. They do have this sort of compartmentalized between Food and Wine and the holidays. So sort of the cutoff there. But I think that's over November 19th. So it's cutting it pretty close to the wire in terms of like the holiday season. Not so much with October, a month earlier. Over Universal, they're starting to put up wreaths at Dr. Seuss Land. So,
well, they did start doing. What did they do in August? Was it holiday parties or no? It's not holiday parties for Walt Disney World. It's Halloween parties, right? Yes. They start their boo bashes and everything in August. So I mean, they're just trying to get ahead of all the holidays.
I know. And speaking of Boo Bash, there is some theorizing going on because they did introduce Zombie Captain America as a face character this week in some of the parks, and there is a lot of speculation about what it means because it is kind of, it's scary. It's very realistic zombie prosthetics and makeup, and so some of the speculation is that they were kind of testing it out to see how audiences reacted to it, and that perhaps it might signal that next year they might step up their Halloween festivities to be a little bit more on par and more immersive, a la Halloween Horror Nights, which is a
Right.
hugely spectacularly successful undertaking. So to sort of compete with that, there's a speculation that maybe that might be, I don't have any insider info as to whether or not that's the case. It might just be some random face actor they're just throwing out there for Halloween, just be a one-time thing. But that is speculation right now among the Disney community, is that this is sort of testing the waters to see how Disney audiences do with Halloween Horror Nights esque kinds of, scares, because he's really creepy and he does
Right. Yeah, I've
faux
seen
attack
him.
people. Yeah. So, and he's
We'll
got
call
like a
this
full,
theme park real talk speculation. Like
yes. Yeah, so we don't
use it.
know. There's no official word, but it's possible, that they have clearly invested a lot of time and research into zombie Captain America and how well he'll play with the audiences during this time of year and with everything else they have going on in the parks. And it's made a big splash. So I'm gonna call it that next year we might have creepier, more intense Halloween festivities.
Everybody seems to love it, from people who
Yes.
have interacted with zombie Captain America. They are loving it so far. So I feel like that's going to go real well. I mean, the thing that is the benefit of going to like an Oogie Boogie party or a Boo Bash is seeing sometimes those really rare characters that come out that you can't see in the regular parks, which is super cool. So I think that they probably are in competition with the other parks that are doing more Halloween based things, like Knott's Berry Farm has their scare farm and Universal has their Halloween Horror Nights, and I think Disney wants a piece of that pie. So
Absolutely. Maybe a little less sanitized Halloween experience. Although, this year they do have Agatha from WandaVision, who she's pretty scary, and they have a couple of other characters that are a little bit scarier than years past, and so I think they're amassing a pretty good roster of villains and scary things. And certainly I would anticipate seeing some Muppets Haunted Mansion tie-ins in the future, which I cannot wait if that's the case. So we yeah, I definitely think it is a very tentative but definitive move toward perhaps adultifying some of their
I
Halloween.
was gonna say last week, sorry, spoiler alert for Muppets Haunted Mansion, listen away or look away now. But my favorite character interaction was with Constance Hatchaway. Unexpectedly at Disneyland I was gonna say last year, 2 years ago, they had these Haunted Mansion figures, very rare figures, kind of just pop up out of nowhere. They weren't announced. They didn't say that they were going to pop up, but like in the special corner where you meet Jack and Sally next to the store, they had Constance Hatchaway, they had the hitchhiking ghosts, they had the I was going to call him Gravedigger, at the cemetery,
Yeah.
and they just popped up. And so they had a rotating set of characters, and my favorite interaction was with Constance Hatchaway. I'm going to post our picture somewhere around here, because we asked her, oh, how did you get here? What does it mean that you're a murdering bride? And she was telling us about all the husbands that she had offed and how it was suspicious. And she was so good. I said, this needs this all of the time. Just rare Disney characters coming out and then developing backstories and making you feel part of that whole world. It was the best interaction I've ever had with
awesome.
anyone at Disneyland. So I do hope for more zombie Captain Americas and zombie Black Widows, zombie Black Panthers, just like everybody to come out so they can experience that.
For sure. I think it's a great way for them to switch it up and to stay competitive. It makes sense. It makes sense from a business standpoint. And from a fan standpoint, it just sounds like a lot of fun.
It does. But beaming back to the holidays for a second, I am very excited because they are bringing back, at least at Disneyland, they're bringing back the Christmas Fantasy Parade. They're bringing back Believe in Holiday Magic Fireworks and their Small World overlay for the holidays. I just feel like it's not really a holiday if I'm not at Disneyland for the holidays. Like, you just need that special like Disney kind of feeling, because I used to watch that Christmas parade all the time when I was a kid in
Me
Anaheim.
too.
And
Yeah.
so for it to be gone for the year, I wasn't sure they were gonna bring them back, like, because you don't know what they're thinking as far as crowds go, but hopefully they will be contained and we'll have that same Disney experience that we always have every year for the holidays. But
Oh, if you go and you see the It's a Small World holiday overlay, you have to send me pictures or you have to put pictures on the blog
yes.
because I'm one of those weirdos that like freaking loves It's a Small World. I know like all the words to the song. I'm obsessed with It's a Small World. It does not annoy me. I know it's repetitive and annoys some people, but it is honestly probably one of my all-time favorite rides of anything ever. And I find it very enjoyable and charming. And just the idea that it has a holiday overlay is just, I'm very jealous.
I was gonna say, the Walt Disney World doesn't have their decorations. Do they have any? They have anything inside to relate to the holidays? No, right?
They don't have any kind of overlay to the rides themselves. They have decorations throughout the, I they have things throughout the park. They have things for the holidays. It depends on where you go to. Like, for example, one of my favorite recent holiday traditions in the Disney parks is the Diwali celebration in Animal Kingdom, which is absolutely so much fun and so spectacular, and it's so cool. And it's definitely something that you don't get to experience every day in Orlando. They have a huge, huge parade every single day in the Asia Pavilion of Animal Kingdom. So it depends on where you go. Like I said that before, the festival of holidays they have Epcot. Hollywood Studios is really kind of a mishmash right now, so they don't really have a very unified holiday approach to things. So, because they do have that after hours, merriest, I don't know what they're doing. They're calling it the merriest nights right now. They're calling it.
Right.
I think it's kind of similar to what they're doing in LA. And but because of that, they don't really bring out the big guns during the day. They have basic photo ops, and they might have some holiday themed like parades and things like that, but they really want to keep the big holiday spectaculars to the paying customers for the evening shows. Right. So but it's still a nice place to go. I'm also a really big fan of, it's not a theme park, but I guess it's theme park adjacent, is Disney Springs has a lot of holiday goings on. One of my favorites in recent years has been the tree trail. So they have about 25, 26 different Christmas trees decorated. And I think I sent you some of the photos last year, 2 years ago when we last went, because they have Haunted Mansion Christmas tree. They have themes. So they have a Toy Story Christmas tree, and then they have like all the different IPs that they have. They have 101 Dalmatians, so everything is black, white, and red. It's so amazing. And they have like, obviously this is Florida, so we don't really get snow except for like once in a freak, blue moon. So they have like fake snow, and it's just it's a really cute like trail. You literally it's a trail where you walk through, and they're playing loud holiday music, and you look at all these beautifully decorated trees. So things like that. It depends on where you go. They have different things. So they don't really have like overlays of the rides like you guys. They definitely don't have It's a Small World holiday. This is adorable. Oh my god.
I know. I'm trying to figure out a time to go for the holidays, because I am now I'm going to be in that Magic Key Pass limbo of not knowing when reservations are going to come up. So I'm trying to figure out when to go for the holidays. But I don't think I'm going to be able to see the fireworks, because I think those are reserved for the weekends. But we do at Disney California Adventure, we're going to be having our own festival of holidays, because we used to have that too. So ours is on a much smaller scale. We do have booths that represent different cultures around the world related to their food. So like we have some for
like food,
Hanukkah.
Yeah.
Like Hanukkah and different holidays around the world, and it's delicious every single year. And it's doable just because our park is so much smaller, so it's only like 12 booths. And so they usually offer a badge where you can like rip off your tabs. It's a pretty good deal that they usually have for either 6 or 8 tabs, and you can get like a main entree out of that, if you price it right and price it well, can it depends on how much the pass is, but it usually works out that it's kind of a deal for that. So so we have our own little festival holidays that we have at California Adventure, and I'm really glad it's coming back this year because I wasn't sure if it was going to, as with many things, but I'm glad that it's going to be returning so we can see that. But I will for sure be sending like all the Small World pictures. And
and on TikTok, when we go back, we'll be sharing some of the stuff we are on TikTok and YouTube and Instagram and other social media stuff. So we'll be sharing little extras and stuff like that when we go to the different parks. So
yes, please stay tuned for that, because we can all use more Disney content on on all the social medias. That's how we know anything is happening, really. So
yes.
Thank you for that.
I know that Genie Plus debuted this week only because all my timeline was people yelling at each other about it. So. Yeah. It's new, y'all. I gotta see how it plays out. But it's the same thing we talked about last week. People are confused, find it too convoluted, and figuring out what to do about how to work it and how to get the best. I mean, basically, I heard that I heard somebody comparing like, I feel really sorry for people who are beginners at Disney this year because it's like crash course for like a bar exam, or something like super complicated, like fresh out of high school, now you have to take the bar exam. Like it's kind of one of those things, like it's very, for a newcomer, I think the learning curve is pretty steep these days. So we'll see how that, but that's how I heard about, that's how I have sort of kept my finger on the pulse of what people think, because there was a sort of like a civil war happening in Disney Twitter and Disney Instagram, people yelling at each other about whether they thought it was a good thing or a bad thing. So.
That sounds completely tragic, but man.
I just want to go to the parks and like have like a Mickey Mouse waffle and like vibe, like I don't want to get involved in any of that. So
I'm so curious what that looked like on the socials. It sounds like a mess. Yes, really need to go back and look. Yes. What about Legoland Florida this week?
Yes, it celebrated. Yes, it actually was 3 days ago.
Okay.
It celebrated its 10th anniversary in Legoland Florida. It was 10th anniversary. It used to be Cypress Gardens, which was the first like legit theme park in America. It operated for over 70 years before it shut down in 2009. But and then Legoland Florida opened up in 2011. But little pieces of the original Cypress Gardens is still in there. It's still preserved in
Lake nice.
Florida. It is, yeah. I mean, it was like a legit theme park. It had roller coasters and literally themes in different lands and things like that. So it was kind of a precursor to a lot of what we know as theme parks, and it's very interesting if you want to ever go down that internet rabbit hole and read a little bit about Cypress Gardens history. But Legoland celebrated 10 years today, and I've only been once with a lot of children, and that's all I kind of remember from that experience.
I was gonna say, I don't think it's one of those that's in our demographic anymore.
No, and at one point, I don't know if this was the case then, I don't know if it's the case now, but you could not be an adult going by yourself. You had to like have a child with you at some point.
I did hear that. I think the same rules applied for Legoland here in California. Yeah. So have they done away with that?
I actually don't know, just because all my friends' kids are just, too old to want to go to Legoland Florida now. But when they were little, it was the case. And it was like, and they were super strict about it. Like you could only, like it would have to be like one adult per X amount of kids. And you definitely just couldn't just go and just stroll around as an adult by yourself.
I was going to say, how did they enforce that even? Because like, what if you were meeting up with friends and you're like, here is evidence of the children I will be with today. Please let me in.
They're real, I swear. No, I don't really know how they enforced it. I just know that they were very particular about it. You definitely just couldn't be like me and my son were both adults and we just show up to the Disney parks or whenever we want, and just stroll around and have lunch and go home. You can't do that. You could not do that. I don't know if that's still the case, but when I went a few years ago, that was the case, you had to have children with you. You had to be accompanied by a minor, which is usually the other way around. A minor had to be accompanied, but you had to be accompanied by at least one child under the age 12, under the age of 12. And but it was really like I went with like a bunch of kids. It was one of those things where like all my friends with all their kids showed up. So I kind of just
Right.
remember like a lot of child wrangling. I don't
Yeah.
really recall like a lot of like, there's some, I don't know, like you said, we're outside of the target demo. So yeah, it's really not, I don't think, I'm not going to go so far as to say that it's not enjoyable for adults, but it's definitely
Mhm.
not for like
Right.
it's very targeted to, young children's sensibilities, and even everything down from the color scheme to the music choices
Right.
to the food choices and the different kiosks. Everything is extremely, and I would even say primarily kid friendly. So that is how Legoland differs,
Right.
so.
And there's so many adults though who love Legos or Lego collectors. So I can see people trying to do like, photo shoots at Legoland, like with their built Legos. I know nobody's done that yet. Copyright me. But like if somebody but if that seems to be strange. I mean, I understand the idea of it, but also it's so suspicious. There's so
It
many like
is.
underlying terrible thoughts that brings up. But
It is, and it's really interesting because there is a Lego store, a fairly large one, a fairly comprehensive one, and I would say even cutting edge, where they have some of the newer sets over in Disney Springs, the
right.
strip mall that's near the resorts, and that is not kid friendly at all. I mean, they have some kid displays, but it is very geared toward the adult collector. So it's very interesting to see the contrast between those two approaches. Legoland is absolutely, they don't give a crap about about the adult collectors. You're like, incidental if you go. I mean, they do obviously sell a lot of merchandise, but it is extremely kid oriented,
They
and
would be making so much bank if they decided to put like a giant Lego store next to their whole entire land that hopefully everybody will be welcome into. But I've never considered that before, like being
yeah,
banned from a park because I'm an adult, like who happens to like Legos. Like
yeah.
in the same way that Disney builds Disney adults when they're children, and you have this, grand notion and so many happy memories at Disney as a kid. If you're building those same memories at Legoland as a child and you grow up and you're like, I would really like to go back to Legoland to see if I still, oh wait, I can't.
Nope.
So
Nope.
oh
I
wait.
kind of wondered that though, because it is only 10 years old. I'm kind of
Yeah.
wondering if they will shift their approach to that, because, they are, after 10 years, they are at a point where their youngest audiences 10 years ago are now teenagers and
20, yeah.
20 something. So I kind of wonder if this is going to be its marker going forward, or if it is something that they will adapt to going forward. I wouldn't be surprised if going forward they did start to become targeting wider variety of ages, just
Mm,
because, like exactly what you said, they age, people grow up liking Legos and playing with Legos, and they tie in everything like the Lego movies and all of this stuff.
right.
So I mean, and kids grow up, those movies are actually a few years old by now, and so some of those kids are now in middle school or high school, and so it does seem like they're leaving money on the table for that. But I mean, I don't, I have to say, I'm not super keyed in with Legoland strategy. It might be interesting to kind of do a little deeper dive
Yeah, I
into.
just wrote that down because now I gotta know. Now I gotta know what this Lego
I told y'all in episode 1, we are nosy people. That is why we started this.
nosy. We have to find out if adults are banned at Legoland. Don't
This
come
is
at us if we don't know. Like we don't know.
we don't I'm telling this is how me and Aimee have been spending like 50% of our time, is like, that sounds interesting. We should look into that.
We should look into that.
That's our business. It's like
These
our
are
business.
things we don't know.
We
Yeah,
mind our business and also everyone else's business. So
it's
yes,
true.
we may have some updates about Legoland marketing strategy in future episodes.
For sure. But speaking of themed land, since we were talking about it before,
Yes.
Universal Studios Beijing is going to also has many themed lands.
Yes.
They just recently opened, I
Yeah.
believe,
4 weeks ago. 4 weeks ago.
4 weeks ago. It says September 14th. All 10,000 tickets sold out during the pre-sale.
Yep. It's
sold
been
out.
booked solid the entire time. It's booked solid to the next month. I mean, it is like they are full to the brim. They are like just completely every restaurant they have, everything they have has just been booked absolutely solid. And it's really funny because people thought this was a very risky move to start, open a theme park right now with, tourism is still in flux because of the COVID situation. And, people really didn't know what types of crowds. Well, the answer is the really big crowds because, yeah, Universal Studios Beijing is a monstrously huge hit. It is a clear-cut success. They must be very happy with it. They are competing with Shanghai Disney. It
Yes.
is the only theme park in Beijing right now. So they are really trying to draw some crowds away from some of the, Shanghai Disney and Tokyo Disney and some of the, you
Hong
know, uh,
Kong. Yeah.
Hong Kong, right, Hong Kong. And so it is the only major theme park in Beijing right now. So it doesn't have a lot of like ultra local competition, but I think that the success has even surpassed like their best their best
Right.
expectations.
I
So
think people just have shown beyond interest, like whatever their expectations were. It's like this area was clearly starved for some kind of super entertaining, and one of the themed parts of this park is a kung fu panda area.
Yes, yes, it's beautiful. It is so beautiful. I'm a big fan of that franchise. I'm a big fan of Jack Black, and they really put that. I think that's probably you really can't discredit how much effort went into making this a truly unique theme park experience. And it is the only Kung Fu Panda themed land on the planet right now. So it has a lot of things that are unique to Universal Studios Beijing. And so for people who are theme park enthusiasts, even if you have gone to other theme parks, in Shanghai and Hong Kong and other places like that, this is a one of a kind experience right now. So I think they really put a lot of hard work into it. And if you get a chance to, if you're listening to this and you get a chance to Google what the Kung Fu theme looks like, they put no expense spared. It's really a very, very beautiful themed land. And so I'm sure that's been a big draw because really that's a really big franchise. I think they went up to
Mhm.
part 4 now. They've had quite a lot of parts, and and it's a big hit, so
Yeah.
exciting.
And
Yeah.
they were talking about ticket prices, and it equates to $64.76 US, which is super reasonable for a
Yeah,
theme park. Like, that's
it
not
is.
even expensive for.
Yeah, yeah. Do you know what the prices are for like Disney Hong Kong and Disney Shanghai? Because I actually have not seen like US prices for that, so I'd be curious
I
to see if the value of it was.
I do remember when people have been going to Shanghai, but I'm gonna look it up right now.
Yes,
But
yes.
yeah, a Kung Fu Panda themed land. And in addition to that, they have your base, I was gonna call them basic, but maybe not basic. They have your regular
Standard.
lands. They apparently
Yes.
Harry Potter is really popular there.
Yes.
They have Transformers Metro Base.
Yeah.
They have Hollywood Land. I was just remembering last week you said no more minions because they have a minion land.
Yes, they do. They do. And this has been a long, long time in the making. I think it's taken almost 20 years for this to open. I mean, they had multiple delays, logistics and COVID and all kinds of, so it's almost a two decade delay that they've had. So the anticipation, I'm sure people were just, chomping at the bit to see this. And, so it's been hugely anticipated, and it seems like it's paid off because it is booked solid.
I
And
can imagine.
they don't really have Beijing doesn't have this big branded kind of theme park, experience. So this is a big first, and it's a huge hit. So, but yeah, if you get a chance to like look it up, it looks amazing, and it looks super high tech and very modern and just beautiful. So, it's exciting.
I want to see. I'm sure there will be YouTube video upon YouTube video
I am
coming
so
out
sure.
about what that looks like. So I can't wait to see it. I'm very curious that I know at Universal Studios Hollywood, they have for Chinese New Year, they bring out Kung Fu Panda and they bring out some of those characters
Yes.
with really basic American Chinese food. So I am super curious what the dining options will be for Universal
That would be
Studios
awesome.
Beijing. Will it look like American Chinese food, or are they going to be serving like authentic Chinese food at a Chinese theme park?
Extremely important question. I'm a big foodie, so I
Yeah.
definitely need to know. Just add that to the things we need to be nosy about for future episodes.
Yeah, because we need to know what that food's gonna look like, because they make those comparisons too in like
Yeah.
Tokyo. So they have like Japanese food, but it's also like Disney-fied. So
Disney-fied.
I mean, yeah. So it might be more for the American palate compared to like, I don't know, your regular Japanese local who wants to go to the parks. But I did find out how much Shanghai Disney prices are.
Okay.
They're calling it for a regular ticket $61.58.
So
And
comparable.
a regular, yeah, it's a regular plus for $77.01. So it's comparable to a Beijing. That seems to be.
I would be curious to see if their target was like, because here in Florida as well as in Los Angeles, a big part of what the parks do, both Universal and Disney, targets locals and targets us to get us to return over and over again. That's why they have the different festivals. They have the Festival of Arts. They have Halloween Horror Nights and all these other things. Right. So I'd be kind of curious to see if that's what they're doing in these, smaller, more localized parks where they are the one of a kind offering in the city. And so I'd be curious if they have that same type of approach where they do a lot for the locals. I did read I'm reading an article here that I haven't pulled up that they're expecting that it would the first year they're anticipating $1 billion in profit, so in operating cash flow. So they are expecting it to be very profitable. So it does seem to be like they are on the mark with that, because again, 2 straight months completely booked solid way in advance. So that's not nothing. $1 billion.
Yeah, we'll see if the momentum keeps until like past the 2-month mark, or is this like opening day excitement. But that's something we have to keep our nosy selves on to figure out what's
absolutely
going on there.
And there is a lot of talk about how these themed experiences are kind of popping up all over the world, and they there are some people who are like, well, the more we have of them, the less special they get, the less one of a kind experience. But it is, but at the same time, I think Universal Studios Beijing and even Disneyland Paris and other places, they are showing that each place has its own unique spin on the IPs. And I think there's probably room for quite a lot more theme parks than we currently have. I don't think it's necessarily diminishing what the offers for the 2 coasts here. And I mean I've been saying we need to go on like a world tour of the parks and just kind of see what all they're all about. Because
I mean, if we end up in Asia, we can hit like 5 of them right there. So I mean,
there you go.
That's just like one big trip that you need to plan.
We're just being practical right now. It's just practical,
It just makes sense. It just makes sense. We just have to hit like, if we hit one, you can clearly hit the other ones because they're in proximity. So
absolutely, little jump across the. Yeah, I mean, I think probably some people are doing that. I'm wondering if anybody's listening to this that has done that and said they're going to go to Universal Beijing and then hop over to Disneyland Shanghai or Hong Kong. Let us know how you planned your itinerary, because maybe we'll hopefully one day we will be able to emulate that.
Honestly, that's the best part about like people who go to the parks and people who are on YouTube, is that they kind of help figure out the logistics for you. I mean, like if we're thinking about transportation, or people worried about traveling and how they're going to travel in a country where they don't really know the language, the appearance of it makes it easier and practical to be able to visit places that you've never been before under the Disney context. So you're in a place where you know something familiar, or Universal Beijing, so you know something already, but the logistics of getting there and figuring out, where to stay, I think that that's the best part about like theme park travel.
The community, absolutely. As we were mentioning earlier, the learning curve is getting steeper because things are getting more complicated, and there is more complexity to planning a vacation centered around visiting theme parks these days. Whichever theme park you might choose to go to, they are getting more complex in their offerings and in their systems and in their plannings and in their even like their food reservations. And
Right.
I mean, and because, and add another layer to that with everything with the pandemic happening, they're often ever changing. They change constantly what the requirements are, and even like how to order food has changed in the last few months. Like
Very true.
just something like how to get French fries at the local kiosk has changed in the Disney parks, like something that simple. So you have all these considerations that when you do that is part of what I enjoy about the theme park community online, is that they do tend to demystify and sort of explain
Yes.
some of the processes and make it a little bit less hair pulling and maddening
and harrowing and scary. And so yes, thank you for that, Disney community, all theme park communities. We're gonna jump back in our plane and come back to Florida. Where we heard this year Walt Disney World is getting their candlelight processional back. I'm super excited for you guys. We don't know about us yet, so
really they don't have it. They haven't announced it yet.
I think they actually did, and I just wasn't paying. But we haven't announced narrators or anything for our park yet. So you guys have some narrators this year.
They haven't announced all of them yet. So today was the first. That was the first announcement that we had today. They announced the one I am most excited about, which I have gone ahead and made an Epcot park reservation for one of her dates, is Jodi Benson, who is the voice of Ariel in The Little Mermaid. She will be there for 3 days, which means she does, I think, 6 or 9 shows. I forget if they're doing, I don't know if they're doing 2 or 3 shows per day. And for those of you who have never heard of the Candlelight Processional at Epcot, it is a really beautiful show that they do in one of the Epcot pavilions, where they have a celebrity narrator read the Christmas story from the Bible, and then they have a conglomerate of choral singers. So my son actually was in the choir, in the high school choir, his high school choir for 2 years in a row, participated in. So they select from all over Florida high school choirs to be part of the choir that sings different Christmas carols. I'm pretty sure they keep the same program. It's pretty much the same thing every year. The part of the novelty is to see the different narrators. So they have some local choirs, high school choirs. They have a choir made of people who just work in the parks, and then they have the Voices of Liberty, which are the people who sing folk songs. It's an 8-part a cappella folk song chorale for the America Pavilion in Epcot. So you get a couple hundred singers all together, and then a live orchestra and a conductor, and it's a live show where in between the different segments of the Christmas story, they sing different Christmas carols and holiday songs from all around the world. They sing them in French, they sing them in Spanish, and they have different in German. I think they sing the Silent Night, they sing in German. So they try to have a little bit of a multicultural element, but it is a really, really spectacular show, and it's really cool because they do have a bunch of different celebrity narrators. But they haven't announced them all. There's big gaps in the schedule right now, but the one I'm excited about is Jodi Benson, because she's
of course she is Ariel.
Yes.
Let's do a little rundown. The ones that they've announced so far, first one is Cheetah Rivera.
Yes.
And the
also
next one
a legend.
is
yes.
Also a legend in her own right. I'm so
Absolutely.
glad that she will be there. Next is Jodi Benson. Alton Fitzgerald White, Lisa Ling, who I would definitely go to candlelight
sure.
processional to see Lisa Ling.
Absolutely, another legend. Yes, I mean they have huge names every year. They've had Phil Collins. I mean, they've had Neil Patrick Harris. The last person I saw do it was Anna Gasteyer. So she was really great. She was really very, very lively, heartfelt. I've seen Blair Underwood. I mean, they don't scrimp
Yeah,
on the
Blair
names they've
Underwood
had.
will be making he gets the day after Christmas, which is nice. He's getting December 26th through December 28th.
Nice.
Stephen Curtis Chapman is getting December 23rd through the December 25th, and Pat Sajak is rounding everybody off at the bottom, December 29th through December 30th. So yeah, that's a good list of very known names. And I'm jealous of your candlelight processional just because it's so expansive at your pavilion. Ours is at the front because we don't have room for anything. So ours is at the front of Disneyland, in front of our train station, and they set up the chairs all along the street, and it's just kind of like blocked off. So if you do want to see candlelight processional at Disneyland, you have to be there as soon as the parks open for the first reading. If you want to see that without getting tickets, or there's no tickets, but you just have to line up along the side of the ropes where they're roped off and basically stand there all day until the very first reading. People do the shift. There's 2 readings at Disneyland. So for the second reading, the people who are behind the people in the first reading usually shift, and so that they take their places right away as soon as they leave, or if they decide to leave.
Less of a candlelight processional, more like a candlelight dog pile kind of.
Kind of a candlelight dog pile. I have mistakenly been there so many times unintentionally because I usually don't want to go on very busy weekends, or I try to avoid those very large crowds because I just don't feel like wrangling it myself. And especially at Disneyland, like I said, there's no room to move, so you just want to get out, but you can't. So I've been stuck there a couple times, and they do open the backstage passageway so that you're able to at least make it through Main Street and then try to make it down to the other side. I know I'm trying
to visualize how this works out.
Right.
It sounds yeah, to put it succinctly, yes, it sounds like a mess. I will say the one in Epcot is not, I wouldn't say it's like brilliantly organized, but it is a little more organized.
Do you know how it's organized if you just want to see the candlelight processional and not?
They do have fast passes, and they did before. Also, there are some VIP so there are vantage points around the pavilion that they do it in, so that you can for example make reservations. They have special reservations for some of the restaurants that are around the processional, so you can have dinner while you are watching the candlelight processional. Now, I am one of those cheesy people that likes to sing along at the top of my lungs, just in general, but especially for the candlelight processional. I like to sing along to things. And so I don't like to eat while I'm watching the candlelight processional.
That's
because, because then I don't get to do my little free Christmas concert. You're welcome, everyone around me, so I sing along to everything. So, but they actually do encourage you to sing along to things. They do actually ask you to stand up when they do the Hallelujah chorus from Handel's Messiah and all this sort of stuff. So it's really cool because everybody sings along, and you actually hear people doing the 4 different parts of the chorus. And so it's a little bit more organized. You do have tiers of different things that you can do, for reservations for restaurants, and different. But I have never tried to go and had to wait more than an hour or 2. And I especially with the crowd control that they're doing this year, I do not anticipate it being hard to get. Nevertheless, because the reservation system is in place, if you do want to see this show in Epcot, I would advise making your reservations sooner rather than later. Because I do think it's probably going to fill up pretty quickly.
That sounds super pleasant, and that sounds so nice. I know that we do have dinner reservations for hours. I don't necessarily know what the benefit is to that because, like I said, just giant crowd shoving in the front. But also the reason for probably our crowds is that we don't have them as often as you do at Epcot. Like we only have it for a weekend, so it's
Oh,
usually
okay.
just a couple people. I remember, I think it was Chris Helmsworth came one weekend, and so everybody nearly died, and so everybody as soon as the Disney rumor
Getting
ran
the
out,
vapors just thinking about it, you know.
yeah.
Chris Hemsworth is
They were like, oh my god, we have to be at candlelight. So, and then I believe the last narrator they had was Lin-Manuel Miranda, and so people were also just kind of like waiting to see
Sure.
him like come on the side. So that, I think that's a big reason for ours to just be as packed as it is because
Yeah.
there's just not as much opportunity to see celebrities and that beautiful ceremony more than the few times that it happens during the weekend. But you guys have so many narrators and
Yeah.
so
And
many
they do it,
days.
and each narrator gets a few days, and each day
Right.
has a few things. So, you do end up, if you it is that is one good thing, is if you miss the morning one, then you can
Right.
see the afternoon one or the evening one. So it is an opportunity. They have plenty of opportunities. Certainly, if you're one of those people who does Epcot all day, and if you're going to do Epcot during the holidays, I mean for me that's one of the can't miss shows, and it is special just to see the Voices of Liberty and this special choir that they put together of Disney cast members, and to see the kids from all around the state. It's really special and it's really lovely, and it's just a nice little kind of addendum to your holiday season if you're into
I
it.
would love to go one year to Epcot and see the candlelight processional there. I will be waiting for Mr. Jonathan Groff of Frozen fame to be there once again. He did his
What
back
is the
in.
holdup? What
I
is
don't
the
know.
holdup?
It's been at this point, it's been 6 years. So the last time he was a narrator was the beginning of 2015. So if he decides to come
Wow.
back and do another Disney, then yeah, I will be there.
Yes, yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I'm very excited for Jodie Benson because I've been a fan of hers for like decades at this point, so very excited to see her, read. And I'm sure she won't sing, but it's just she has a beautiful speaking voice to begin with, so that's why she's this incredibly legendary voice actor. So we'll keep
I
her
did get to
posted.
see her at the Little Mermaid Live at the Hollywood Bowl. She was our Ariel right
Amazing.
after Sarah Bareilles, so that was nice. I'm excited for you to see her though, and
Yes.
hopefully she does decide to just bust out,
Yes,
bust
go
out
for
a
the
tune.
song. Get a little solo there, right? No, I mean,
Right.
they have had singers, and they had Neil Patrick Harris before, and he didn't sing, so, and he's a wonderful singer. So, I mean, but they're there to read or whatever. I mean, but I just want to like breathe the same air as Jodie. I'm just so excited. So I'm sure I'll record some of it and put it up on our TikTok and our YouTube.
Yes, please. We need all the legends on there to share. Even if we see on the Twitters, we will be
The Twitters.
retweeting all of those things, all on the Twitters and the Instas and the everything. We'll post in stories. We'll keep you apprised. We're not going to fall down on that job.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I mean, still speaking of the holidays, since we're bypassing.
Well, it's October. It's mid-October, so apparently,
right.
according to Dr. Seuss Land, it's already the holiday season. No, I'm just
According to the theme parks, we should already be celebrating Christmas.
Right?
It's practically New Year according to them, so it's their fault that we're still like firmly in holiday mode. But yeah, what do you think about Universal and Disney? And what do you know what SeaWorld and Busch Gardens are doing for their holiday
girl.
situation?
They're doing all the things. So this is what we were talking about. We were talking about earlier, just before we got on here. So like there's this to me it's just so interesting, the approach, this very carefully manicured and curated and organized approach that the big two, Universal and Disney theme parks, have, both to celebrating the different seasons throughout the year. And I don't mean that just in terms of holidays, but like, for example, like Disney Springs has had every month has had Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and then they had LGBTQ month, and then they had recently Latino and Hispanic Heritage Month. And so each month they do different things in the resorts, and then in the parks themselves they have the Festival of the Arts in Epcot and the Flower and Garden. And same with Universal. They don't do it as they don't do it as frequently as I think the Disney parks do. They don't take advantage of so many different holidays and eras, but they definitely have. I mean, Halloween Horror Nights is legendary. They definitely have a very clear cut between that and their holiday celebrations. And then they have Mardi Gras in February, which is a really, really good time. If you haven't gone to Universal Studios Mardi Gras, they go legit. They go all out. It is a party every single day. So I mean, but it is distinct. They're distinct eras they have throughout the year. And that is, again, what we were mentioning earlier was part of their draw of getting the locals back in. So if you have a pass, you have a reason to go back over and over again. And that is really fun. I think it's very effective for someone who is a local with passes. It definitely does get me back over and over again just to see what they're up to. But in contrast, in sharp contrast, Busch Gardens and SeaWorld have like 5 different things going on at the same time. Like right now, they have at SeaWorld, they have the kids' Halloween celebration, then they have Hallow Scream, and then they have some kind of like beer festival situation happening, like literally in the same park at the same time. Like what, it's like they are celebrating like 5 different festivals in one tiny little park at the same time. So I guess there's like pros and cons to that. What do you think? Or like, I mean,
No, I mean, I wouldn't be celebrating like in October. If I went to Epcot, I doubt that the Germany pavilion would be giving me free beers at the same time as, I don't know, Christmas decorations are happening.
Yeah, well, it's October. It is Oktoberfest, to be fair. It is the Oktoberfest era. See, there's a lot of little mini Oktoberfest happening all over the country and the world. Right. This is Oktoberfest season. So I almost wouldn't be surprised, but I'm just saying they have like 2 different Halloween festivals happening side by side, plus the kids weekend, plus the beer festival, like literally in the same space. So I don't know. I feel like that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's like, that's too much. I feel like that's too much going on because you kind of want to focus on one event at a time. I'm thinking of the way that Disneyland does theirs. And yeah, they have something on, let's say Mardi Gras. And so they have little celebrations around New Orleans Square. But at the same time, we're not celebrating like Easter at the same time where you have, like an Easter egg hunt or something. So
right. I mean,
that's
if you look at their like Busch Gardens, if you look at their event calendar, they have 4 different. They have Tres Reyes, which is like the Three Kings celebration, which is like the Epiphany in the Catholic Church. So it's like the Christmas for a lot of Hispanic and Hispanic, diaspora, I guess, countries. We celebrate January 6th having, the gift giving and the 3 kings, the 3 wise men visiting the stable and leaving you presents. So that's the Santa for a lot of like Latin America and Hispanic diaspora countries. So they have that celebration in January, and also Mardi Gras, and also Kids Weekend, and I feel like that's a lot happening. And they're small parks. These are not these expansive, massive, geographically, huge kinds of parks. These are pretty small parks. So I'm just kind of I don't know. I know that some of them only happen on the weekends, and some of them have only happen on the weekdays. So maybe that's what they switch off. I can just imagine the kind of whiplash that the employees there must have. Like, today I'm doing Mardi Gras, tomorrow I'm doing 3 Kings,
It reminds me of, we were just talking about Festival of Holidays and how, like, if you were in one park but you were celebrating a separate Hanukkah at the same time you were celebrating Christmas, and you have dreidels spinning around on Thursday and just Christmas things on Friday, that seems like, it is like, it's like park whiplash. Like, you don't want to experience all these things at the same time. It's just, I think it should be distinct. Like now they're not separating themselves from another theme park that wouldn't have anything. I think they're just doing a little too much on
Yeah.
on that
Yeah,
front.
I think that's probably true. Then this is pretty recent too. I think that they are trying to expand some of their offerings to entice locals and to just sort of switch it up and not have the same thing that they have every year. SeaWorld has been doing Hallow Scream for many, many years, and so
Right.
this is a tradition for them. So the fact that they are adding in, other things, and the craft beer festival that they're having, these are that it's not new to this year, but it's relatively new. And the kids weekends, with the Sesame Street characters and all that stuff, so they are trying to switch it up, and it is an experiment. Maybe it is a growing pain, I think.
Yeah,
Ultimately.
do you think they're trying to compete with the bigger parks in that regard and trying to bring, more
Yeah,
people in for their special segmented holiday structure, whatever they're
I
doing?
mean, maybe, what I think it is that I think that's a good question. And I kind of wonder if it's the other way around, where they have
Mm,
Hallow Scream more that only appeals to like adults, because
oh,
Hollow
right.
Scream is billed as a very scary, like not recommended for young children kind of. That's SeaWorld's Halloween
Mm,
festivities. And now we have a beer festival happening, next door, like literally in the same park. Like I said, I am trying to like envision what this looks like, and apparently it's happening. All of these things are happening right now in SeaWorld, and which is a fraction of the size of other parks. And
right.
so, and a lot of that a lot of that real estate is taken up by like ginormous tanks with the animals. So I'm kind of
Yeah.
just wondering how this all plays out. I think I mentioned in the last episode that I was kind of considering getting a SeaWorld pass just to
Hmm.
go, just kind of just stay in the loop, because they are very affordable. I know that at one point in May, it was either Busch Gardens or SeaWorld, they had 5 different festivities in happening overlap, like five. Five.
Yikes.
That's a
Yikes.
lot, and I
Yeah.
know that they do, and they're maybe, like I said, I know that the kids weekend is just the weekend. So, they're just, maybe they're trying out to see what sticks. That's my only explanation for it. I just know that, like, as a guest that might be wanting to plan a visit to a park I don't go to very often,
Mm.
um, you know, it just kind of makes it a little bit more confusing and less distinctive. And I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, though. I mean, in saying that it's a less visited park than the other theme parks in the
Yeah.
area, that they're making this attempt to kind of draw in people for the reasons that the other parks draw in people for the holidays, especially because they draw them in for Halloween, they draw them in for Christmas. So I can't fault them for trying to jump on that bandwagon, especially
Right.
when it's so popular in the other theme parks. The holidays, people just have an affinity for the holidays and they want to go to a theme park and just enjoy, kind of, I don't want to say getting away from the personal, their own personal lives, to go into like this kind of magical like theme park. But
Absolutely. No, but that's
yeah,
the
yeah,
case. I
that's
mean,
part of it, right?
that's
Yeah,
the vision, is that it's this immersive experience.
right.
But how can you have an immersive experience when there's a beer festival going
Right.
on, like right across the way? And you know what? And the funny thing, and I'm not disparaging beer festivals. I like Oktoberfest. I like Renaissance fairs, and I like all these kind of things. And I feel like Oktoberfest might be a niche that
Right.
theme parks currently aren't capitalized. Like you mentioned, the German Pavilion in Epcot, they should absolutely do like a mini Oktoberfest. That would be a brilliant idea, because, the Germany Pavilion doesn't have, a whole lot otherwise going
Copyright
for it.
theme park real talk.
Yes, yes. Credit, absolutely. You heard it here first,
You heard it
so.
first. They should have like a special Oktoberfest area, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs
I'm
doing their little
saying
greeting at
that would
that
be so
restaurant.
fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
So
Disney, do
I
you
mean,
hear me?
they're not. I'm telling you that they will owe us money if they take us up on it. But like, but that's the thing is, like, it's a cute idea. I just feel like alongside these 3 other things, it kind of like almost gets lost in the. But I mean, they aren't going to do away with Hollow Screen, because it is a fairly popular. They
Right.
one thing I will say about SeaWorld that they have an advantage over over the big two here, is they do have some really great roller coasters. They
Mm.
have really intense roller coasters. That some of the bigger ones in the entire Southeast are found at SeaWorld. And that might seem a little incongruous in terms of like the killer whale exhibit that they
Right.
have right down there. Maybe, but they are really popular, and for thrill seekers, because some people do like theme parks for the thrill seekers, for the thrill seeking. That is part of the appeal. But yeah, I was just looking through, and I was just trying to like organize, my itinerary or some of my plans for the next couple of months for the different theme parks, and I was just like, oh, let me just see what Busch Gardens is up to, and it's like 27 different
Right.
different things going on before the end of the year and going into the new year. And like, I'm not even exaggerating, 5 different offerings in May. So I would be curious what our listeners think about that. If they prefer the kitchen sink approach of Busch Gardens and SeaWorld, everything but the kitchen sink, or if they like the more curated and segmented approach to the different holidays.
Holiday specials. I know where I stand. I think that's a little too much. It's something that I couldn't plan out my life like that. Like I couldn't figure out, I just kind of want to go to one park and just kind of enjoy one theme and get lost in that one particular theme. And if Oktoberfest in the Germany pavilion is part of it, then so be it. That's fine.
They should do it. I'm telling you.
They should do it. But all right, I think that we're about wrapped up for this week as far as topics, but I did want to share on the YouTubes my shirt for today, which is my reservation accepted,
Nice,
Ghost Relations
nice.
Department 50th anniversary. This was the annual pass holder shirt. The year the 50. I pretty much bought out everything 50th related.
I have here my mug. It's also a 50th anniversary Haunted Mansion mug.
We are so unintentionally themed. I loved it.
It is getting close to Halloween time, so it is on. It is. But this, I actually have not washed this ever. I know disgusting. I don't drink out of it. Just disclaimer. It's decoration, just because it does have. What I'm holding up is a 50th anniversary Haunted Mansion Disneyland Resort mug, and it has a decal on it that says 50th anniversary, etc. But I was told to not wash it because it might come off. So now it's just there.
That's actually just smart. So
yes,
I mean,
decoration now.
You just got to keep all that on there. I think that D23 was the year of the Haunted Mansion 50th, so they had like a bunch of stuff at D23 that was like 50th related. We're having so many 50th anniversaries. Yeah, so that's happened. Yes, I lost track of where I was.
Well, yeah, and we do have the Walt Disney Studios 100th anniversary coming up in 2 years. So
that's right.
I'm very excited to see what they're going to do for that. So, but yeah, if you want to see our beautiful Halloween and Haunted Mansion merch, you're going to have to turn into the YouTube and the TikTok to see us. So, Aimee, do you want to tell our audience a little bit about our socials?
Yes, please catch us on all of the socials. We are Theme Park Real Talk on every platform except for Twitter, where our characters do not fit. So it's what is it on Twitter?
It's Theme Park RT Pod.
Theme Park RT Pod, but we are on all the other socials on Theme Park Real Talk, including TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. I think that's everything. And YouTube.
Yeah, and we do have a website where you can find all these things, as well as liking and subscribing all of our episodes. We're on iTunes, we're on Spotify, we are on Google Play, and that is themeparkrealtalk.com. And we have links to all of our socials on that as well. So please do like and subscribe, and let us know what you think about our episodes and what you'd like to see discussed in future episodes.
Yay, like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time.
See you real soon.
Bye.